Hey everybody. Well, I'm really happy to have had my third interview with Ready One Two with the one and only Christoph Lensing. I wore this shirt today just because this was the first World Championships I watched, first time I came to Europe, and Christoph won this World Championships. And he pretty much blew away the vaulting world for the next decade by winning all the World Championships, all the European Championships, and got silver at 2 World Equestrian Games. Christoph was the most winning male vaulter of all time, and he just didn't actually look like a champion athlete. He was kind of skinny and not that strong, but he could do amazing skills on the horse, and he was such a technical wizard. Christoph was just a bunch of contradictions, and that's what made him so cool. He had a big influence on me. I actually went and trained with him for multiple years, and I got to do shows with him, and I learned German basically with Christoph. So, he became a good friend, and so it was extra fun to interview him. And Christoph's just an elusive character. He's sort of a contradiction. He is he's like a skillful master, but he's also a disorganized gypsy. He's in some ways like a social butterfly, but in other ways he's like a hermit. He sort of disappears, and then he like reappears, and he kind of seems like he's not in vaulting, and then suddenly you realize he's still in vaulting. So it's really cool to be able to introduce him to the people who don't know him, and for those of you who do know him, we can walk down memory lane a little bit. Happy birthday, Christoph. It was fun to interview you. Enjoy. All right. This is Devon with Ready One Two, and I am very, very proud to introduce our third guest, Christoph Lensing, the one and the only. Hello, Christoph.
Hi, Devon. All good?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Yeah? All right. Where are you? Where in the world are you?
Well, I'm in Colorado and living in Longmont, and well, I'm sitting right now in our dining room, and well, that's where I am.
Okay, so you're in Colorado. You're in
Yeah.
the United States. You're in Colorado. And why are you in Colorado? Why is Christoph Lensing in Colorado?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Um, well, 4 years ago, I got asked if I would be interested to take over, well, the old club from Yossi Majtonovic when he retired.
Uh-huh.
And well, since I just had broken up with my wife, and I had nothing, I wasn't actually involved that much in vaulting anymore. I thought, well, that might be a good thing to do to get back into the scene, into the vaulting scene,
Yeah.
and experience something new. And well, I gave it a shot, and since then I'm here.
So that was a pretty big move in your life.
That was a very big move in my life. Yes.
Did you just need a new start? Did you feel like you needed a new start?
Yeah, I changed my life after I got divorced from Elka and actually worked. Well, I wanted to change my life and I wanted to do something totally different.
Mhm.
And I was always very, very interested. I'm still very interested in sustainable building and organic farming and stuff like that. So I actually did work in that section on a really, really nice farm with really, really cool people in the east part of Germany, in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, in Lüchen.
Huh.
And I was very happy with that, very, very happy. But it wasn't really a job. I earned a little money, but not much. And well, they actually did offer me a proper job there because
Yeah.
we got along really good and I really loved it there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but yeah, east part of Germany, you don't earn a lot of money. And well, then this offer came, and well, I thought maybe I'll try something completely new. So I took the offer and came here.
It felt like you kind of disappeared for a while.
Yeah, I did.
You know, you always were sort of around even after you stopped vaulting, but I just remember there was a few years where I just didn't hear much about you, and most people said, yeah, what, I haven't talked to Christoph for a long time, and then I heard you moving to the United States and I didn't believe it, and then it seems like you're this elusive character that everyone knows about, but you sort of just bounce around the world and you're a mystery. Okay. And so that's why it's so exciting. It's fun that I can interview you because I feel like you're pretty much a mystery to a lot of people, even though you're so well known.
Well, I might be a mystery because I'm not very active on Facebook and all these social media things. So I pretty much stay out of all of that. And yeah, that's probably why. Nowadays, it's probably pretty uncommon, especially in the vaulting world where everyone is so young and up to date. And I'm not. I'm not that young anymore. And I'm also not that up to date.
Well, you know what? I don't want to just smother you with flattery, but you actually looking pretty darn good for, what are you now? Wait, you were born in 1969. Okay. Yeah, that makes
That
you
is
sound old.
definitely correct. Unfortunately correct.
So you're 50.
Very unfortunately correct.
Hey, I'm not that far behind you, dude.
Yeah, you're not. That's true. No. But I wish I had your age.
Well, let's just say I will be very happy if I look as healthy as you are in 6 years from now. So
yeah, I feel pretty healthy. So from that point of view, it's all fine. Yeah. But I haven't reached my goal yet, and that makes me a little nervous sometimes.
What goal?
Well, I had a farm with my ex-wife, and that was good, but it didn't work out that well. So, well, we got divorced. So here I am, no farm, and a new relationship, which is working perfect and really, it's all really cool. But I'm living in a city, in a house, and I'm still dreaming of a farm. So hopefully one day. Luckily, Angelica likes the same and wants to be on a farm too. And yeah, we'll see. One day we'll get there.
Okay, tell us who is Angelica?
Yeah, I hadn't been here very long, and I was supposed to try out a horse for vaulting, and that's how we met. And she actually is from Austria, but was married here for like 12 years. And she actually used to vault as well in Germany. Actually, she lived in Munich for a long time, and she vaulted in Munich, in Gilching and some other clubs somewhere. And yeah, so she knew what vaulting is, and she always liked it. She just had to at some point decide if she keeps vaulting or riding, and she decided because the vaulting, their club was limited in what they offered, and she had the chance to go to Ingolsberg. She was actually there for training and stuff, but her mom at that point, I think her dad just died at that point, and her mom wasn't really willing to drive that far, and it was a long drive. She loved the riding, and the mom said, one or the other, you can't do both. And then she decided to stuck with riding, and she rode a lot, and she did her instructor license and everything. And well, since she's here, she's actually teaching and working horse.
So you met her. Where did you meet her?
Here in Longmont, actually in Firestone.
Okay, so you went to the United States, and that's when you first ran into Angelica.
Cool. Like half a year later, I did try a horse from her, one of her horses for vaulting, which the horse didn't work out, but she did work out.
Well, that worked out. That's life always has its turns, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, goodness. So I'm going to get to vaulting now, because Ready 1 2 is definitely about the vaulting world, and you have had a big role in that vaulting world. So just as a little personal story, and I mean, I have a lot of personal stories about Christoph, so I'll try not to tell too many of them, but as the very beginning was me watching you vault at the World Championships in 1988, and I didn't know who you were. I actually don't think a lot of people really knew much about who this guy was with the glasses and the little skinny guy. And you showed up to the World Championships, and you just throw it down and win all of a sudden. And everyone's like, what just happened? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And you were, you weren't sort of someone that everyone knew. You kind of were a mystery back then. But then you went to, so I'm a California kid, I'm like 14 years old, and you showed up to a San Francisco Equestrian Festival, and you vaulted at the San Francisco Equestrian Festival. I think it was in 1989. Anyway, I went up to get your autograph, and I remember being really nervous and going up and being like, hi, can I have your autograph? And you were nice, you were very kind. And so that was the first time I ever met you. I was just a fan. But, this sort of leads into just what you seem to represent for me as a vaulter, is that you were always actually very approachable, even though you were a world champion, okay? And so fast forward 1993, this is just a kind of a personal story that lets people know how I know you. I was living in Europe after high school, and I took a train to watch the German championships by myself, and it was a big adventure, and I found this place, Dahlgauw in Berlin, and you were there, and I just randomly ran into you, and we started talking, and you offered for me to move in and train with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was saying, yeah, I'm looking for places to train. And you said, well, do you want to come and train with me? And I was just like, yeah. so then I ended up spending like 3 months at your family farm and basically learned how to speak German fluently, because that was the only language to speak there. Anyway. So I had a lot of, you made a big impact on me as a vaulter. So I want to thank you for that.
I remember very well us being in the cellar downstairs and stretching a lot.
Oh my God. Yes. That was, yeah.
Being on top of you and stretching a lot of.
Yes, I needed it a lot, and you seem to be the flexible guy. Anyway, so let me just as a background, everyone knows the name Christoph Lensing, but I don't think a lot of the vaulters today know much about you, other than you had won a world championships back in the day. How did you start this sport that's shaped your life? Just give us a general story of how you started, why you started, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, like you said, I grew up on a farm, and my dad, before he took over the farm, was a rider. He did show jumping quite a bit, but when he took over the farm, he had to stop. But he was still meeting his old friends at the club where they had vaulting as well. And there was always Sunday morning after church, we went to church together.
Mm-hmm.
After church, we went to the indoor arena, and he sent me downstairs into the arena where the vaulting was to start to do vaulting. And he went upstairs to have some beer with his old friends before we went home for lunch. And well, that's how it started. So I every Sunday, vaulted.
Okay. And did you have in the beginning, do you have any idea that this might be something that you're going to do for, many years and become the best in like the world?
No, of course not. Not at all. And it started a little rough too. I do remember because I was very, very skinny, and I think I was a
You
little,
were?
yeah, I'm still, and I'm happy that I am. But at that time, I sometimes wished I would be a little like, yeah, stronger and heavier built. I was very tiny and very skinny and very little at that time. And it was a little hard. It was a little rough for me in the beginning. But it actually, that was 2 years kind of, or maybe 3 years. I was in the low class on a pony. And then well, then it started to get better and better. And I was
Mhm.
pretty quick in the first team. And then I was for like 6 or no, even longer, 8 years, I think, in the first team of Rede. And we went to a lot of German championships and won the Westphalian championships a few times. And we were kind of a unique team
Yeah.
because we, at that point, a team consisted out of 8 vaulters plus
Uh-huh.
one reserve, and we were always 5 boys and only 3 actually with reserve, 4 girls. And so we had more boys in the team than girls, and that was pretty unique even
Yeah,
at that time.
that is
And
very unique.
yeah, that was pretty cool. And we did some, at that point, we weren't the best team. I mean, I think the best we did was like with me and the team 12th place, or I don't even remember what place, but normally more in the middle or even in the
Okay.
last part of the middle of the German championships. But we did pretty unique exercises. I mean, we were just a little rough, like boys are.
Yeah. So
But we had very unique exercises you don't see very often.
so was your identity as a vaulter being formed then, in a sense, as a team vaulter? And like, I want to know how you led it to being an individual.
Yeah, well, in Germany, everybody starts, like, everybody starts as a team vaulter.
Mhm.
And individually is basically not done. It's done when you get older and when you are good. Then you do individual vaulting. When you feel you are good or you get told you are good and talented, then you start individual.
Yeah.
And so, well, at that point, with 18, you had to stop team.
Mhm.
And with 16, you were allowed to start individual vaulting. Before, you weren't even allowed to do it competitively. So they all told me, well, you should do it, you should start. And well, then when I turned 16, I started individual vaulting as well. And
Okay.
then for 2 years, individual vaulting and team, both. Yeah.
So how did the skinny farm boy from Ray to become world champion at the age of 19?
Well,
Like,
good
how did
question.
that happen?
I think, I think the biggest part of it was that basically all my friends were in that team, like Markus Sirot, Thomas Föcking, and
Mhm.
those guys. They were all vaulters. They all did individual vaulting as well. In, I think it was 92 in Heilbronn at the World Championships. There were 3 vaulters, Markus Sirot and Thomas Föcking, representing 3 vaulters representing Germany, all those 3 from our club. That
Yeah.
was really cool. And we were very, very good friends. We
Mhm.
basically, well, maybe not every day, but 5 times a week, I would guess, we met and we trained together and we pushed each other. And we just pushed each other pretty hard and spent a lot of time together.
So it was probably that connection with your friends, was that sort of camaraderie, that
Yes.
training
Yes.
that really got you to push yourself.
Yes.
So in a sense, your individual career was sort of an extension of being a team player, sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But that can't explain the career that you had. Somehow, at some point,
Well,
you must have decided, well, I'm good at this, or I want to keep showing that I'm can be better, and you kept winning. I mean,
Yeah,
what
I
was
kept
it?
winning, and
Fire.
that was, yeah. I mean, I kept winning, and that was, of course, well, that motivates, of course, a lot.
Yeah.
And I was always someone with not a lot of confidence, but when I started winning in the individual vaulting, in my individual vaulting career, that of course boosted my confidence a lot. And well, that of course
Okay.
helped. And it
So
was basic, it just gave me a lot of confidence, and I just was pretty dedicated always, not to win. I was never well, maybe I was dedicated to win, everyone wants to win, but I kept telling myself I want to be as good as possible, as good as I can, and I tried to do everything to reach that goal. And then it happened to, well, to be always like first or second place mostly.
well, the interesting thing is, maybe that could be one of the reasons why you did have so much success, because it sounds like you're saying that if you didn't win, it really wasn't something that devastated you.
No,
You,
no, it didn't devastate me at
yeah,
all.
you, but so it's interesting because it's sort of, you have to have a pretty strong ego to push yourself that hard to be a champion. But you
Well,
never won a WEG, and you
no,
always won the world championships, but you would go to WEG and you get second, or you whatever. I think you were always second every
yeah,
time.
I was always second, and my first WEG in Stockholm, I was 1,000th, like 1,000th behind Michael Lehner. That
Yeah.
was like nothing, but still.
You know what though? That's a great. I loved your vaulting, but Michael Lehner is one of my like.
Yeah.
I mean, he was such an inspiration for me. So, and you know, the fact that he was world champion made sense. That guy was so darn good at vaulting. I'm glad he won that world championships, because
Yeah.
he's always been represented sort of, in my opinion, the early stages, like a very high point of the vaulting world, you know?
Yeah.
So, but you know, him winning that year probably put the fire under your butt to win the next year, you know?
Well, that fire that I had to win, I never had that fire, but I
Really?
no, I always wanted to be just as good as possible and see
Okay.
what happened. See what happens. But the only time when I decided, okay, it's time to stop. I think I have, well, Kai Forberg was coming up, and Gero Meyer and all those guys, and I thought, well, it doesn't take much longer, and they will beat me. So that last year I felt a little bit of pressure, because I wanted to stop with a good result, and they were coming closer and closer, and I thought, oops.
Okay, so we're talking about.
Hopefully I can do it one more time, just to end with a good result.
So we're talking about
there I felt some pressure, but that was the only time. I mean, there's always pressure on the competition itself, but not beforehand.
1996. So your last World Championships win was my first bronze, my first medal.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I would have never imagined being able to like compete to beat you. Okay, you were at a different level. But if you'd have kept vaulting, I think I'd have managed that, you know? So you stopped at a good time.
I know, and that's why it was time to stop. Because, you know, my advantage in vaulting was basically that I was kind of all around good, and I had something which some other boys were missing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You as well. That was flexibility, and being flexible helps sometimes to be in harmony with the horse and really smooth and da da da. So that was probably always my advantage. But I was never this super strong guy like you were and some of the other boys were, and who could actually, at at the end of the day do more cool exercises than I could have ever done because I just didn't have the strength.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I was just going to ask about that because, I teach a lot of clinics, and I know you teach a lot of clinics, and you have. um, and I always bring you up in when I talk about how important it is to use the horse's movement as your impulse as a vaulter. How important it is to let the horse's energy be the energy, the most important part of the energy you use as a vaulter. So, and I always use you as an example, how this guy who never seemed that strong, I mean, you always had like, you were fit, but you never really had much musculature, but you could hit a handstand faster and easier than it seemed like anybody.
Yeah.
And so I always used you as an example for that. Do you think, though, that the fact that you weren't strong made you a better vaulter because you had to use the horse?
At that point, probably was my advantage to all the other boys.
Okay, so you're saying at that stage, that might have been your advantage.
Yeah, I'm pretty advantage. And the other boys vaulting were more built like you a little bit and stronger, much stronger than me. But using the strengths they had sometimes makes it not look as harmonious and as smooth. And I think that was definitely my advantage at that point. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And I know, in fact, in 1988, when I won first time my world championships, I won basically because of Jeff Moore, the American judge, because he had me quite a bit ahead of the others, and that's why I won. And
who did you?
Jeff Moore?
Second? Yeah, Jeff Moore. In '88, who was second? I can't remember.
I think
was it Dietmar?
Dietmar Otto.
Yeah,
yes.
Dietmar. Okay.
Dietmar Otto, I think, and he's like way more built like you and much stronger than me, and a totally different type of vaulter.
Yeah,
he
was amazing back then, and the fact that I just remember because at that point, Dietmar Otto was the world champion,
Yeah.
Because there was only one ever world champion, so we all expected Dietmar to win.
Yeah.
It was sort of this epic, I don't know, movie star vaulter, Yeah. And then you came. I mean, you just didn't look like what you would expect a world champion to look like. Dietmar looked like. I mean, you're a good-looking guy. Don't get me wrong, but Dietmar looked like a movie star,
Yeah.
And
like you.
Oh yeah, come on. Yeah. I'm setting myself up for a compliment because people used to actually always mistake me for Dietmar, but that was like the biggest compliment anyone could ever give me back then. But yeah, you. I don't know. It was fun. It was fun that you beat Dietmar. I remember Dietmar. I think he was just like, okay.
Yeah, I could not believe it either. But I know, in fact, that people told me that Jeff Moore did like my style of vaulting, being so harmonious and so smooth and using the rhythm and being like really a unit with the horse. And that's what I got told he liked so much.
Yeah.
And I think that was for years my advantage.
You did this yoga move where you would basically go into it, you'd cross your legs and you'd go into a shoulder stand. That's what you were known for.
Yeah.
For years, actually.
Yeah. Well, I think I did a few moves which I did the first time. The yoga move was one, and I think I was the first one doing a neck stand as well.
Oh, yes. I have a photo of you doing the neck stand, and everyone is going to look at that and go, yeah, okay, neck stand.
Yeah, but nowadays,
this was the first one to do it, okay? Yeah. There was shoulder stands, but yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Any other firsts you think you can remember of you?
Those two, let me think. I'm not 100% sure. cartwheel off to the outside as a down and up.
The down and up. Yeah.
I did that too.
Yep. Well, that's a big one because basically everyone does that. So,
yeah.
You know.
Well, the yoga move is back.
Oh, Balaj.
Yeah.
He vaulted on my horse at WEG.
I know. He's a cool guy. He came and WEG to me, and him and his sister, and they wanted a photo from us doing that yoga move. So
that's cool.
did it. I can't do it. I couldn't do it at that point anymore properly, but kind of.
Okay, so I want to ask you a little bit about your poster vaulting career, and you look back. What do you think that the lessons you learned early on? How did vaulting teach you how to be a better person? Like, what did it give you besides? Oh my goodness!
That's Brandon.
Wait. Hey,
Brandon. Son.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Good to see you. You've grown a lot.
Yeah.
So
I know. I just told him yesterday he grew a lot.
Angelica's son?
Yes, it's Angelica's son. He's going to bed now.
Okay. Good night. Thanks for saying hi.
He left already.
That's kind of cool.
Well, I think did it teach me? I mean, for me, and I'm sure that's from the vaulting, fairness is a really, really big thing. And it's a little hard in vaulting to be always, or to feel always being treated fair, because it's such a subjective sport. But fairness is something extremely important to me, and accepting that sometimes the world is not fair did teach it to me too. And that, well, it's not mostly it's not someone's personal fault if you get treated unfair. Like in vaulting, when I had the situation, I think it was in 91 in Bern.
Yeah.
Where I felt treated very unfair, but in a weird way, because I thought I deserved to be third, and I got second. And I felt
this is Christoph.
I felt it so unfair because Thomas Wisbeck was my basically best friend, or one of my best friends for sure. Mm-hmm. And he got third, and I felt so bad because I thought I got a too high score. And I was actually crying. Even in the prize giving ceremony, I couldn't hold it because I thought it was just wrong.
So you felt guilty for winning?
I felt guilty, yes, definitely. But I know it's no one's fault. And when I looked at it later on a video, I thought, well, maybe I was actually wrong, and I didn't see myself. So I thought maybe it's not that bad than it felt to me in that moment. I really felt really bad. And I thought that Thomas got treated very unfairly in that moment. But
this speaks a lot to who you are. I learned a lot just about working with people and how important it is to help the people you're competing against, and how much more it meant to be successful. I remember because I trained a lot in Reda in 93, 94, 95. I would go there all the time, as often as I could. 96. I mean, for years, for 8-9 years, I think I went. You couldn't get rid of me. But it's mostly because I knew I could trust that if I was training with you, and you're in the environment that you created, that you were legitimately wanting to help me. Yeah. And it didn't matter if I was becoming good. It's like you would get excited about me being good. And it wasn't like, oh no, he's getting too good, let's get him away. Let's not let him be on my horse. You would always help the people doing their best. Like in 95, at the European Championships in Saumur, you kind of got in trouble for that. You let Thomas Wisbeck vault on Aladdin,
And he was the world champion in '94. And so here's the current world champion. And you, of course, the German Federation wants Christoph Lensing to have a better advantage. And you give your horse to Thomas. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, there's not that much. You told the story, basically.
I told the story.
So he had a problem with his horse, and he was one of my best friends. So I always think the best one has to win, and it's not about me. I mean, if I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, and if someone else is better, he's better. And if I can help him being good, I would always do that. So
do you think that is still in the sport, or do you think that that's something that's
not so much for sure anymore? Not so much for sure anymore. But also, I mean, this sport grew quite a lot, and it has more media and a little more. Posting is more expensive, and da 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 da. So a lot of things changed, and I don't know if nowadays I think I would do it, but I'm not sure. I mean, the whole situation changed so much. But at that point, yeah, for me, that was not a question.
Well,
and I did that with Thomas fucking as well. He used my horse, and yeah, it was just, yeah, that's what we did. We helped her. And
so
that was, I have to say that you just said I created that situation. I believe that I did not create that situation. We had a very good coach, Alfons Stirot, and he taught us a lot. And not that he was the best vaulting coach. Okay. I'm sure he wasn't. But he was really working hard for it and did his best he could and was helping whatever he could to get us to our best. And I remember there were, especially in my beginning years, our club didn't have the best horses for me to do individual vaulting. And I mean, he just drove me to the horses. I had no driving license when I started.
Yeah.
So he just drove me to all these various places because I couldn't drive. My dad, as a farmer, didn't have the time to always drive. He drove, of course, sometimes too, and he always came to the competitions, at least to the local competitions, and he left it. But he had not always the time to do that. So actually, my coach drove me everywhere. And when he couldn't do it, our chairman of the club drove me. And I had a lot of support from the club to go to different places to train on different horses, just to get me, well, to help me out and achieving the best I could. And yeah, I thought that was pretty cool from him. Nowadays, and I know even at that time, I know there was a lot of discussion that when our national trainer decided that a vaulter has to go on a different horse from another club and another trainer, that the home trainer was kind of like sometimes pretty mad. And yeah, it's always a tricky situation. Alfons Sirot, my coach, he said always, I'm here to help you. And that's what I'm doing. And if it's better to go on another horse, I will make sure that you will go on another horse. And he had just this mentality to just help. And I think that's a little bit part why, well, I had that mentality as well. And the whole club had that mentality.
Well, thank you for carrying on that legacy, because what you just described from Alphonse was his name? What you just described was what I experienced from you, basically. When I was just this, kid from the US coming over there trying to, learn from my mentors. And, you invited me to your place. You didn't need to do that. You let me stay, you let me come and train with you. It's not like I was paying you. Okay. Like people might be going, well, Christoph was never really that good with money. So of course he didn't think of asking Devon to pay him. But seriously, I mean, you seem to carry on that legacy by always helping people and always trying. You drove me places. I mean, I could drive, but you took me to do vaulting shows with you, the Lipizzaner Gala. And if we just had 3 hours for this interview, I would tell so many stories, so many really.
You probably remember more than I do.
Oh my God. Yeah, oh man, like we need to have an an extended version of this, because Christoph's sort of crazy, you guys. Like he's awesome, but he's a little nuts. So I mean, there were times we would drive through the night and literally show up. I'd be sleeping in the truck or the car pulling the trailer. I'd be sleeping and wake up. Christoph would be like, "Okay, wake up." I'd be like, "Oh, we're here? Yeah, we're doing our show in front of like 2,000 people in like 25 minutes."
Yep.
And I'd be like, "What?" And I didn't even have a uniform on. I'm not warm. Like, get out of the car, throw the horse out, go into the arena. I mean, this is a typical day for Christoph in the 90s.
Yeah, and I have to say, I was usually stressed when everything was a little stressed before. Like Capochois, my last World Championships, I was very stressed. I forgot my music at home, so I had to cut it on my little cassette recorder. I had to cut it again, and it worked actually pretty good. And
you make us sound so
like stressful.
People are like, "What's a cassette? What is it?" Like, we literally, guys, I remember editing music in Christoph's basement. You get a cassette, you put a tape in one side and a tape in the other that's blank, and you play the tape and then you pause, and then you like push record and you pause. And, oh my God. Anyway.
Yep. Yes. That's how we did it.
You were good under stress. That's good, because there's a lot in vaulting, huh? We were talking about how you would take me places, and you had learned that from your coach, and that really did carry on into me. And I saw you do it with other people, and I've basically seen you do it your whole time vaulting. Is take people in, help them, and sort of lead them through their vaulting experience and help them out. And you did it with a boy in New Zealand for a while, and I mean,
that was fun too.
Which brought you to New Zealand.
What?
That brought you to New Zealand. You traveled
to New Zealand, yes, and that was a cool experience. David McIntyre in The Hague, and when he came over, he just came over being an exchange student, and he just didn't like the family where he stayed with. But the family actually, both girls were vaulting in our club, and so he came with them, and so he met me. And after a while, he said, "Well, I'm not getting along with them so well. Is there a chance I could come to your house and stay with you?" And so he did, and he stayed with us for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months. And he actually had nothing to do with vaulting or horses, nothing at all. His mom's brother, he's one of the biggest thoroughbred breeders in Australia, and does a lot of racehorses. But his side of the family, nothing to do with horses at all. But he thought it's a cool challenge, and he thought, okay, let's try if we can get myself ready for WEG, actually, for World Championships, World Equestrian Games in The Hague. And we managed, and our goal was to not get last, and he didn't get last. So
and I remember you were really into that. You were like you were a big advocate for him, and I think, I don't know, it just shows how you weren't just the arrogant champion kind of person,
No,
you helped out the underdog.
I actually really, really liked working with him, because he was just a total nobody. He didn't do any competition, nothing. And he had nothing to do with vaulting, and he was like so green. but it was just a challenge for him and also for me to get him good enough to compete and not being miserable. I mean, being bad. I mean, he was doing actually really good.
Yes, he did well. And you know, that brings up the idea, well, it reminds me to ask you about being a coach and what being a coach means for you, because I know today you are still in vaulting. You're still a vaulting coach. You still train vaulting horses.
Yeah.
What is keeping you in the sport? Is it that feeling of helping other people, or is the vaulting sport really important to who you are?
Well, I just like that lifestyle because you're outside a lot, you're with animals, you're with kids. I just love that because you won't do good by just being strong or doing this or doing that. You have to be very versatile, and I just love that about it.
Yeah.
And the combination with the horse and being on a farm and just the whole thing I like.
Yeah.
It's not something special or something in particular I like. I just like the combination.
I mean, I can't agree with you more. The coaching, it somehow, it means more to try to show some of the experiences that I had to these other people. You know, sharing something. It's like the gift you got from your coach. Yeah. You're sharing that with these other people.
Yeah.
So let's go back to sort of a little bit other things you've been involved with in the sport. You, in 1994, I think it was, you decided randomly to design a surcingle. So, and I remember, because before 94, you guys, all vaulting surcingles were circles. Little circles, okay? And then this crazy guy came along, Christoph, who said, we must invent something different. And he invented the Christoph handles, which were flat on the top. And that was like revolutionary back then. So tell us about that.
And it happened because I was in New Zealand. And David McIntyre's mom wanted to start a vaulting club, the first vaulting club in New Zealand. And it's still existing, and it's still the only vaulting club. Capity Vaulting, exactly the name. They actually went to some competitions overseas. They took part in the Junior World Championships.
They're good.
They are very good, and we started that club back then in '94. And when I came there was of course no equipment, and then I thought, okay, we need to make some equipment. And then, I started thinking about it, and I thought, okay.
You thought, instead of let's buy some equipment, you thought let's make surcingles.
Yeah, we made one surcingle in New Zealand.
Okay.
I don't know why we didn't get the idea to bring one over.
See, not everyone would come to that conclusion.
Now looking back now, I would say that was really stupid. But that's how it was. I came there and had no equipment, but we wanted to start vaulting. Then we thought, okay, let's make some equipment. And we found a settler there who made the first surcingle, and that made me think about the design, of course. And I thought, maybe the existing design is not the really perfect design. Maybe there's something better. And that's how I came up with that first idea.
You know, honestly, back then I just thought that was so cool. Okay, there was just nothing cooler than the idea that you make your own surcingle. Making my own equipment, I don't know. I just remember being so blown away by that. And it was cool. It was definitely easier to stand in those handles and stuff. But fast forward now to 2000, you designed another surcingle. The first one was, let's just give credit where credit is due, was you and a man named Frank Peter, the tallest guy, one of the tallest guys I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then that ran its course, and we don't need to get into details, but that ran its course.
Yep.
And then you had your surcingle adventure with Evan, yeah,
Devon, yes.
yeah, and you designed a surcingle, and that's the one where you can change handles. Okay, that was Christoph's big idea. I remember when you would talk about surcingles every time we saw you, were showing people handles, and you were getting out your screw, and you were like a used car salesman.
The handles, but also the padding, because no one before thought about adjusting a surcingle properly to a horse. In fact, the Frank Peter surcingle was not fitting very well at all to a horse. It had a nice shape for the handle. I still think that's a good shape, and for some moves, it's probably still the best handle. For some moves at least, but it was not fitting to the horse well at all. And when we figured that that's not the right shape, and I walked to him and I said, we need to change something because it doesn't really fit horses very well. We need to make a different design for the base and for the paddings. Then he decided, no, I can't do that, because he had already pre-ordered so and so many without asking me. And so he had no chance to change that. And I said, because I don't want my surcingles to not fit the horses properly. So that's, then a few years, nothing happened. And then I met Erwin, and then we thought, let's rethink that and do something else to make even better handles and, make the surcingles fit better.
Yes. So was your motivation mostly just to be innovative and to make things better? Or were you, being a businessman, were you looking for another source of income? I mean, how much was that?
Well, you know me. I'm so much not a businessman.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that's not what you want. I'm sure you want to make money.
I want to make money. I just don't want to ask for money. I want the money. I'm totally not a business person at all, and I love money and I want the money to come, but I don't want to ask for money. I hate asking for money, and that I was always bad in that. And that was the good thing with Erwin. He was able to help me with the metal base for the surcingle, and he was really good with the financial side, and I wasn't at all. I, of course, wanted some money, but I said, I don't want to deal with building
collections and all that.
That's totally not me. And also, I'm not a salesperson. I mean, at that point, I was very convinced that was a really good surcingle. So I would tell people what I think is so good about it. But I also would say, like, it has its disadvantages. I mean, like everything in life, there's nothing just positive. And of course, it has had its disadvantages too. So from that point of view, I wasn't a salesperson either.
Well, because you did, by saying something negative, you're making people know that you're being honest.
Yeah, I'm just very honest, but that's not what I mostly see in salespersons. They just sell their product and there's nothing negative. And I'm just not that type of person.
Well,
to be honest, Devon, my main motivation was to be creative and create something new and better. That was my main motivation. And then, yeah, of course, I like to have money, but
yeah, well, this is honestly, I think we share this. Yes, I want money too, but basically we get a benefit. We get value out of more things than money, and being able to like do something that's meaningful to the community, that means something to us, that has a lot of value. So it just
Yeah.
comes in different forms. And, you know, who knows how many clinics you taught. Partly, you know, it helped. It's like it's a network. You have a surcingle you sell. You go teach a clinic. You bring your surcingle. It kind of all works together. But I know that the surcingle is still being sold. And are you happy that the surcingle is doing well still, or are you a little bit
Well,
bitter that it's like it has to do with you anymore?
I mean, it's my fault that I'm not in that business anymore, because I decided to, like, when it didn't work with Elka anymore, I just left and kind of disappeared because I wanted a new life. So I disappeared out of that business as well. So that's how it went. And now I'm out, and that's fine. I have a new design already laying here, actually. But
do you trust the vaulting world that if you show it, someone's not going to steal it from you?
well, no, I'm not showing it. It's my idea.
Wised up a little.
I haven't really tried it on a horse yet. The only thing I made a form out of. I molded or created a form out of gips. What is it?
Like plaster.
Plaster. Yes, and it's like a rough, a rough shape, but it's something new, and hopefully one day I meet someone again who can do some iron stuff and can make the base for it. And I have that idea since quite a while in my head, but I don't have a welder, and I think you have to be pretty good in welding to do that. So I didn't get to the stage yet to actually make it happen.
Well, you know that I went down the path of trying to make a surcingle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's definitely an interesting one.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. And then this isn't an interview of me, but maybe I'll blame you, because I looked up to you for years, and so I thought, well, the way to be cool is to make a surcingle.
What he can do, I can do, right?
Exactly. Damn it. That's what I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's a complicated thing to get into. It's not just having an idea, it's getting that idea made. That is complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
And it costs a lot of money, and anyway, we can talk about surcingles another time. So I want to know a little bit about your life as a horseman. Okay, so I still dream about Aladdin. Okay, so your Aladdin is the stuff of legends. At least it is for me. He was for me. Can you tell me about the most important horses in your life? Just a little bit about them and what they meant to you.
Well, the two most important horses were Rascal and Aladdin, by far. And well, Rascal was just the first horse I had, and I shared it with the other individual vaulters of my club. And it was just a extremely reliable horse and very easy to vault on, and was super flat and long, and his back was like 17 hands, I think. He was horrible to ride, was not fun to ride that horse, but he was just so nice to vault on, so easy to vault on, and so reliable. And Birgit Passer, who was lunging him, he was so obedient, super obedient. And we had an outside, I'm sure you remember, we had an outside ring. I mean, we normally vaulted always indoors only, but we made an outside ring out of carpet and pieces and sand. And in that ring, I mean, he had a track like
I remember. It would be a track like this. You just draw a perfect circle.
And he was going on that track the whole time, and one step to the side, to either side, not one step. He was just the most reliable horse ever.
I did something on Rascal that I'm pretty sure you never did.
Okay,
I
what?
bet you never stripped on Rascal. Did you ever strip on Rascal? No.
No, no. I, of course, never stripped, but I remember when you stripped in that show. That was very, very cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
Sana Gala in
No, it was
down
in
in,
Münster. Wasn't it in Münster?
it might have been in Munster,
On the
or it was down
Westphalia?
in southern. No, it was near Munich somewhere.
Yeah, that
Near
was
Munich.
maybe another one then. We did.
It was the European Championships for Western riding, I think.
Oh, okay.
And you and Thomas Ficking, and anyway, I was the California Dream Boy.
Yep.
And yeah, that's one of my. It's actually on YouTube, believe it or not. You can find me stripping on Rascal.
Really?
And the vaulting world goes wild, and they all go to. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway,
Oh, you have to. I want to.
Rascal was amazing. It was epic. But I'm sorry, as much as Rascal was amazing, I still think, in my opinion, that Aladdin was the
He
greatest.
was just more impressive as a horse. He was just.
Tell us about
impressive.
Aladdin.
He had more character and more. Yeah, he was just appealing to people more. Rascal was just a little ordinary. Was a fantastic horse, but didn't have that expression and was not an eye catcher. Aladdin was an eye catcher because he was so big. And normally, I do not like chestnut horses. I really don't. But I totally fell in love with Aladdin, even though he was a chestnut. And the story behind that horse made him just very, very, very special to me.
He had bronchitis, didn't he? Like have some lung disease or something?
Yes, I bought him out of a dressage stable, and I went to that stable because of a totally different horse. But that horse wasn't good, and then I asked for if they had another horse, and they showed me another horse which was big and beautiful, really beautiful. But I didn't like him either. And then I said another horse, and they said yes, one more. He's too ticklish and too difficult to deal with, and the handling. I don't think he's going to be a vaulting horse. And I said, let's try him. I saw him, and I thought, no, let's try him. I want to try this one. And did actually fantastic. He did fantastic the first time, and then we actually went there another 2 times. The mistake was we only vaulted him. We never rode him.
Okay.
And he was actually going over the auction when he was 4, like half a year before, and got sold as a show jumper. And they showed me all the videos and the pictures, and must be all good, because normally they get a good vet check when they go over an auction.
Oh, you did do a vet check for him.
I just trusted that guy. And then I bought that horse, and then I got him, and then he was unrideable. He was unrideable and had lots of health issues as well.
Yeah.
One thing after the other. And then I started to investigate a little bit to see what happened with that horse.
Mm-hmm.
And in those 8 months or whatever, from the auction until I bought him, he went to jumping stables, and he ended up in that dressage stable because he was just so sour of jumping. He just did not get close to a pole anymore. No chance. And the vaulting was just something completely new for him.
Yeah.
He was riding wise, he was so sour, but vaulting was something new, and he had no bad experience.
I want to know about you and how you trained him. Like, I actually want to know more about, are you a horse trainer? When did you become a horse trainer? And
I would definitely not consider me a horse trainer. I'm getting there, I think, because since I'm together with Angelica, and she's a riding instructor, and I think she's a very, very good riding instructor. I'm not such a good student because she complains always that I'm arguing too much during our lessons. But she's a very, very good instructor. I'm getting there.
well,
but
you're very humble, Christoph.
With all the other horses I had, I was riding them, but I had always someone else ride them.
So you tend to gravitate towards women who are qualified horse people. Okay, so you've had, you know, without going into all your relationships, you must find a woman who knows a horse attractive.
Well, I mean, always around people involved with horses, so it's kind of, that's all I did my whole life. So it's kind of, well,
Yeah.
natural that my girlfriends are involved with horses too.
Yes. Well, you've done a great job with a lot of horses over the years, so I can attest to that. And maybe you're not the only one. I'm sure it's partly because you keep good company.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
you recognize when things are going wrong. And any good trainer, it's not just doing it yourself, it's learning how to get the right people together to help. So
Yeah, and I think, I mean, as much I wasn't a good rider, I think I always was pretty good in lunging, because that's what I did way more than riding. And so the lunging part, I think I'm pretty good in. But I think a top lunger you can only be when you're a really good rider as well.
yeah.
And the riding part is still missing a little, although it gets much, much better. And I ride way more than I used to. And
Good.
jumping, a little eventing, and doing all that, I really like it. And now in the future, I can do even more. So, yeah.
One other thing that I remember that I wanted to bring up, because I think it's an interesting chapter of your life. Well, it points to something interesting, and that's sort of the idea of Christoph Lensing as the rebel. Because you're a nice guy, you know, you don't like to make people uncomfortable usually. You know, you want to be helping people. But I remember one time specifically in '95, you were the voice of like a rebellion in a way. And
Yeah.
this kind of got you in trouble. And now I think we're far enough away from it that you could probably talk about it. You stood up you won the European Championships in some year, and then after winning, you stood up with the microphone and you basically disparaged the organization of the competition or something. Is there anything that you can tell about? It's I think it's a really cool moment in your history, even though you did get a little bit of trouble for it. Can you tell anything about that?
I got in a lot of trouble for it. Well, well, we had, the competition in Silver, and there was Miss Phoebe Cook, you know her.
Yes.
I guess. And she was the main sponsor.
Rest in peace. Yes.
Yes, and she was the main sponsor of that competition.
Mm-hmm.
And there were, I can't remember 100%, but they adjusted the timetable a few times and and they made changes to make her happy. But those changes were not always for the best of the vaulters.
They weren't fair, and you said you were all about fairness.
Yes, yeah, exactly. They weren't fair to us as a sports, as athletes, and we just hated that, and everyone was talking about it and was not happy. And then we met with some vaulters and some trainers, and we decided we need to do something about it. And
it took a lot of guts, but we sat in a room together about all the competitors, and this is something that the new vaulters today should actually hear, because we literally the main competitors in this European Championship sat in a room, and we wrote out like a grievance, and we convinced Christoph to be, because he just was winning or had just won. I don't know if it was before or after, but basically you were the guy in vaulting. We convinced Christoph to be the man to go up there and say this. And now that I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, that was crazy.
Yes, and talking is not my strength. So it was really hard for me, really, really hard for me. And English was not my language also, and it's still not. So it was really hard for me. to do that. And actually, it was planned to be between me and Tanya Benedetto, who was winning on the female side,
Yes.
but she actually pulled back
Yeah.
just a few minutes ago.
She was a little too smart.
Before we did it, she said, I can't do it.
Yeah.
She was too, I don't know. She was not brave enough. Not,
Or she knew what was going to happen, which is you'd get in
maybe
trouble.
she knew what, maybe whatever.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I ended up being the only one standing there, and I got in a lot of trouble. Like the whole organizing committee came up to me and got me in big trouble. And then even worse was 3 weeks later, we had German championships. And then before the German championships, I arrived at the German championships. And then the German Federation, Dr. Wendt, he came up to me and said, well, we heard about what happened in Saumur, and we talked in our federation about it, and we actually wanted to disqualify you from the German championships. And so they didn't at the end. I was able to compete, but I got in a lot of trouble.
Well, whether it was a good idea or not at the time to stand up and embarrass organizers when their champion was saying that they didn't do a good job at organizing a competition, whether or not that was the good idea then, it took a lot of guts, and you started, you have had a positive effect on the future of the sport, because there was a lot less likelihood that they were going to have some money mogul person put their financial influence on a competition. So
I did say that a sponsor and finances cannot have the main impact on a competition. I did not say that the organizers did do a bad job.
Okay.
I just said that's a difference. I just said that a sponsor cannot manipulate the organizing committee and the whole organization and the whole competition. That's what I said. And not, I think it was still a nice competition, and they did a good job. And they actually asked me the year after if I could come and compete, to just make everyone look like that I'm not mad at them and that I'm not mad at the organizers and And I, of course, went there and competed.
Okay.
At the normal CBI the year after.
Yes, and you went on to win in a world championship, so it didn't really affect you too badly.
No.
So a little bit, I want to just address COVID-19, because this is what the world's all in right now. And, part of this interview series is to see how people are doing now that we can't live our normal lives. How has it affected you? And is your family healthy? Like, just tell me if it's affected you guys.
Yeah, my family at home is healthy. It's all good. And here, it's all good. We were pretty lucky. Our facility did not close. So they had some rules to follow. And well, we had some rules to follow, and we couldn't do team, of course, but we were able to do individuals still, with keeping distance and having some disinfective stuff with us, and being only one person to get the horse ready and and only tie up the horse outside and They had certain rules to follow, but we followed those rules, and we were able to still train. And I feel we were pretty lucky, and still did mostly our normal schedule.
How is your family? And do you ever see them anymore?
Well, I do see them, of course. Every year I see them. I was supposed to go to Saumur this year to compete with some of my voters, and I would have seen my family by then. But that didn't happen, of course. So, and then I should probably call more often. And but
Yes, you should.
I know I'm not good
I'm
with,
talking for your parents now. But
yeah,
so your brother's running the farm,
yeah,
and your parents are retired, of course, I would assume.
yeah.
Uh,
Yes, my parents are retired. My mom suffers a little bit of dementia,
okay.
but is still doing pretty good. And my dad still works like
Really?
always. Yeah, he
Wow.
cannot do without work. I mean, that's
So
impossible.
Christoph, for those of you who don't know, they have a pork farm, a swine farm, a pork, what do you call it?
Yeah, pork and meat cow
Yeah,
or meat cattle farm. Yeah.
yeah, and it's pretty big. It's pretty substantial, and it's in.
Well, for
Well,
Germany.
to me, it seems sort of big, but anyway,
Yeah.
I've only lived on a farm once, and that was your farm. So
Yeah.
it was a very interesting experience for me. Um, what I also want to ask: do you consider yourself a father? Are you a father?
That's a hard question. Um, um,
I know you've been part of raising children.
yes,
And you've had a
yes.
father-like role for children.
I do. I mean, yeah, that's a good question. I still have pretty good contact with Elke's youngest daughter, with Johanna. We
Okay.
still have quite a lot contact. We still call and we actually visit each other. Well, each other. I visit her. She wanted to come this year over here, but that didn't happen, obviously, either.
Okay.
And
Someday it could happen.
maybe it still will.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I have at least very good contact with her. And, well, I talk with Elke sometimes, and
Okay.
the other kids, not so much. They're older, but I came into their life when they were like 10. I think Katrin was 11 and Lena was 9. So I was never the father for them, but Johanna was only 1 when I met them.
Okay.
So she grew up with me, and well, I still have a very good connection to her, and she calls me dad, and I have definitely father feelings for her. Yes.
Well, you're not old enough. We're only like 7 years apart, so I don't want to make it sound like you're a father figure, but in some ways you kind of have been you're like a brother slash a little bit like a father figure. You were old enough that I looked up to you and you kind of drove me around. So you're a good dad. So whether you're a dad or not, I just want to say you're a good dad. You've been like a dad to a lot of people. You have that natural instinct, and it's just a way of sort of helping take care of people. So anyone who's had you as a father figure, whether it's the girls, Elke's girls, or maybe your Angelica's son, just keep it up, because you have a lot to teach kids.
I think I have a very good relation to Brandon as well. With him, he has a very, very good connection to his dad, and they actually share the time with him. So he's 1 week with us and 1 week with his dad, and so he still has a dad, like physically has a dad, and that was different with Elke's kids because that dad was kind of gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he called sometimes, and well, he visited sometimes, but not much. So they had me basically as a dad, but for Brandon, it's a little different.
Maybe being a coach for you is also kind of either that gives you a little bit of that feeling of being a parent or father, kind of helping kids.
Yeah.
What about you as a farmer? Because I know you mentioned that you were spending some time on a farm for sustainable agriculture, and you've always talked about having farms. You've had a few with different times where you thought this would be your future. You'd live there the rest of your life or whatever, and some they all fell through. But you still want to be a farmer again, don't you? You want to get land.
That's my big dream. I want to live on a farm. I'm not a city person. I like to be in the city to visit, but I don't like to live in a city at all.
Yeah.
So that's still my big dream. And uh, yeah, the farm work, just I grew up with it and I liked it at that point, and I still like it. Even though I'm the oldest and I was supposed to take over our farm at home, but I didn't want our farm at home because I do not agree with the industrial farming life, which is today's normal
Yeah.
farming life. So I don't agree with that. I want to be more like a homesteader, like
Okay.
growing my own food and doing everything my own, not growing food in big scale for other people. That's not
Yeah.
my goal.
Well, you always seem to have an environmental side to you. It seems like if you hadn't have been involved with vaulting, you might have done something for environmentalism.
Oh yeah, yes. I mean, my first career was actually being a gardener, because when I decided to not take the farm from my dad,
Mhm.
I still wanted to do something in nature, so
Well, we all hope that you get a farm someday, Christoph, because
yeah.
if you get a farm, I know you invite people over. And
Yeah.
when you have a place and you have horses and you have your dream place, I know that it would be a really cool place to visit. And us lucky people who get to come by are gonna learn something from you. And I know I did when I was a kid.
Even when it's only about farming.
Are you ever going to go back to Germany, you think?
You mean
like live in Germany? Do you think
back?
you'll ever live in Germany again?
Moving back?
Yeah.
Well, good question. I hope I can stay together with Angelica, but that means then also that I will have to stay here in the US for a while, because she's not going to leave her son, and the son is not going to Germany. That's for sure. Not the next 5-6 years, because he has a good relation to his dad, and his dad would never let him go to Germany. So I guess I would stay here. But I mean, I do like Germany, and I would move back. There are a lot of things I like in Germany, and I'm missing old towns and the history. I do miss that, and I do miss some of the attitudes we Germans have. I do miss that, yes. So yeah, I think one day,
yeah,
most likely.
Because I remember having conversations with you about the United States versus Germany or wherever, and you used to have pretty critical things to say about the U.S. You used to tell me, I don't like the U.S. I would never want to live in the U.S. I want to live up in northern Sweden, and I think you did live there for a while. I want to live off in eastern Germany. You always wanted to go somewhere off and far away.
Yes.
But never, like, the U.S. was just too, I don't know, it was too normal or something. So
no, totally not too normal. Too, well, how to say that? Too money orientated, too capitalistic, and and not well, how to say that? I think it's a too wasteful life here.
Yeah.
In my opinion, too big.
What is too big?
Everything. The cars they drive, the houses they have, everything, in my opinion,
is big. Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. A wasteful life. They waste money, resources, and that's what I don't like. On the other hand, it has beautiful nature here, beautiful landscape, and living a sustainable life is probably easier here than it is in Germany. So if you want to live off grid. I think that would be easier here than in Germany. So
Is that a goal of yours, to live off grid?
yeah, that is my big goal. I would love that. And I hope one day I can achieve that.
So those of you who wonder why it's hard to know where Christoph is and what he's doing, it's because he secretly really wants to just be like off grid and disappear. So I feel pretty darn cool that I was actually able to interview you and show your face and ask you questions and let people actually see that you're, you know, you're still there.
I'm still alive and enjoying my life.
That's wonderful. And you know what?
And enjoying my bolting here too, and enjoying the horses here. And yeah, I feel pretty good about the situation I'm in right now.
I'm very happy. And you know what? I think that I hope you find a way to keep vaulting in your life, because not a lot of people stick with it so long as you have. And, you know, again, the sport is evolving and a lot of things have changed from when you were vaulting, but some of the things aren't necessarily great, and new vaulters could learn a lot from the days when we trained with our competitors, we helped everyone out, and it was about who you could lift up as a more important thing than necessarily yourself. So you should keep that alive and stick with it.
Yep, I'm working on it.
Okay, I'm gonna. These are questions that I used to watch a show called Inside the Actors Studio, and when they would interview great actors, they would always end with these questions. I want you to not think much about the question. I want you to just answer the first thing you can think of when I ask you the question, okay? First thing that comes to mind, all right?
Okay.
What's your favorite word?
What's
your favorite word? You can say a German word or an English word. Favorite word?
Sustainable.
Okay. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Well, in bolting, I would say good music, and in other life, in rest of my life, a beautiful landscape.
What turns you off?
Money.
What is your favorite curse word?
What is a word?
A bad word. Did you say it froze?
No, I didn't say it, and I don't want to say it.
Oh, see, that's well, there's your answer.
Yeah.
Too polite, too polite. All right. What sound or noise do you love?
Birds. What do they
Birds.
Yeah, birds.
Chirping birds. Okay.
The noise birds make.
Okay. What sound or noise do you hate?
Big trucks at a traffic light who like think they need to show you how much power they use the accelerator and like and I hate it.
Yeah, Americans can be pretty crass. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Lately, I mean, that changed quite a lot over the years, but lately, architect for sustainable building.
Okay. What profession would you not like to do?
Any office jobs.
And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates? Hello?
I would like a mediator.
Good mediator?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, you were a good interview, and you indulged me well. Thank you for sticking with it. I could talk to you for many, many hours, and I know we've shared many conversations over late night ice cream, and I look forward to having a more long late night conversations with you again.
I just had ice cream before the interview.
I bet you did, and no one can put down ice cream like Christoph Lensing. Christoph, you're a great guy. I look up to you a lot. You're one of my best friends, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Devon. I enjoyed it.
We'll talk again soon.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Say Happy Mother's Day to Angelica for me again.
Yes, I will. She might be still in the bus.
Okay. All right. Good night, Christoph.
Okay. Bye.
Well, there you go, Christoph Lensing. Living the life, alive and well in the United States of America, in our Midwest. He's still coaching his heart out. He's working with horses, and he's just the same old guy that I've always known. So whether you knew him or not, I hope you learned something about the man behind the name, and it's good to see that he's doing well. I hope he reaches those dreams of his, because he's always had interesting ones, and I think that he could be a champion in other realms besides vaulting someday. He's that kind of guy. I would like to know if people have specific requests for who I should interview for Ready 1-2. I have a long list of people I'm really interested in interviewing, but I would love to know if there are some people that you guys would love to hear from with this historical context that I like to approach interviews. I like to put it in the big picture, and of course there's a lot of people I know that I really want to interview, but I'm also interested in interviewing people I don't really know at all. That'll be a new challenge for me. So give me your requests. Also, if there's questions that you think I should ask everybody, specific questions about vaulting or about their role in vaulting or whatever, just let me know in the comments below and I'll add a few. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for our next interview.